Hello everyone. This is a tutorial to get you started on your 2-column single page InDesign layout. First you're going to use Create New, or you can just go under File, New Document. And this window will be open. You will name the file with your last name. You can say underscore layout. The file size, you can click on one of the custom windows. If you see that, fine, but make sure your file is built according to the directions given you on the handout. It's 11 inches wide by 17 inches tall, so it's a vertical or portrait orientation. It's 1 page, 2 columns. Your column gutters should be 0.375. You can use the chevrons to change the size. Just make sure you're reading and looking at the sizes accurately. So I have 2 columns with a 0.375 gutter between them. Margins are very specific in this assignment. One thing I want to explain to you, when you see the chain symbol in InDesign, see where it is here under margins? That means within a certain menu, all the items, when you plug in a number, like say I change it all to 1, all the boxes are connected, so then everything's 1 inch. If I unbreak the chain, I can now make my margins independent of one another, and the instructions clearly say a 3-inch top, a 2-inch bottom margin, and left and right are 1 inch. And then I'll hit Create. This window comes open. I'll put that away and bring it out later. And what you'll have is your 11 by 17 page defined by the black rectangle you see. Your 3-inch margin, 2-inch margin, 1, 1, and 0.375 gutter. Each one of these is the body copy columns. File place is used to place information from other files into InDesign. So I've made a folder for my demo here. I need this Microsoft Word file that you should have downloaded by now. And you will also have had to complete your Photoshop file. And that will be gone over in part 2 of a separate video. So this is part 1 of your assignment. The MS Word file I need to place, I will highlight and then open. You will see this kind of preview in a way, and the little arrow that you will tuck up to the corner of the first column. That starts to flow your type in. I am doing Command plus to zoom in. I'm going to scroll here. The plus sign here at the lower right hand corner of that column is telling me that I have more text to place. I've not used the entire MS Word file. I'm going to put my cursor there and click, double click, there we go. And again, that symbol shows, and click, and now I've flowed in the rest of the article. I know you can see this plus sign remaining. When you work with text in InDesign, go under the word type, show hidden characters. You should see your returns, tabs, word spaces as you work to format text. So when you do that, and I'll zoom in, you can see all these extra returns indicating to InDesign that there's just more copy I need to place. But truly there isn't. They're just returns. I put them there to get you in the habit of checking for accuracy that you've imported all text in a file into InDesign. I'm going to take my cursor and I'm just going to delete those extra returns. Delete a couple more. And you notice that the red arrow went away. Alright, just zoom out. This pull quote is a shape that in the part 2 video we will work with text wraps. you will need this text later in your design, and you need to delete this extra information. So I'm going to use my cursor to highlight the text, Command Copy. I'm going to draw a little box right there. I had my type tool selected. And I'm going to do Command Paste. Now this is just an element temporarily placed onto my pasteboard. This is not part of my document. Everything within the black lines is part of my document. So I will come back to this box later to make the type the right color, the right point size, the right shape, and use that piece as an element that'll have a text wrap around it later in the second video. I'm going to delete the rest of the unneeded text that was here on the lower part of the right hand column. The other piece of copy that I'm going to need to format independently is the headline. So I'm going to highlight the headline at the top. What's the best way to take notes? Command Copy. Same thing, make a little box, Command Paste. Save it there temporarily to format it and use it correctly. I zoomed in a little, Command Plus, and I'm going to delete the excess information at the top left-hand column, hit delete, and definitely hit that extra return above the byline. Okay, so far I've gotten rid of a few of the extra parts that were contained within the MS Word file, and I've made them as elements to reformat and use later in my layout. I'm going to do Command minus, and I'm going to use my selection tool. This box is activated, so I'm going to click here so nothing's activated. And what I want to talk about is making a guideline in InDesign. Often you're going to need guidelines that don't print, they're just invisible structural guidelines. And one thing the directions are clearly explaining is that you need 2 inches down from the top of your page. It'll be the top of the headline. So this headline, you can move anywhere you need it and format it. So you need to have these rulers out. You're going to want rulers out as you're working in InDesign so you can set up guidelines to align boxes and help align text or other elements within the document. To find your rulers, you go under View. If I click Hide Rulers, no more rulers. I'm unable to pull down any kind of guideline. If I say View, Show Rulers, I now have my rulers. And there you go. I'm going to take my selection tool. I'm going to click and hold my mouse, and I'm going to drag a guideline down to the 2-inch mark. Notice this Y coordinate, the light gray box following the rule, and you can also look to your left and you can read the measurement on your ruler, and you will stop at 2 inches and release. This never prints, it's just there as a guideline to help you align boxes. My headline box, I am going to move and center, just eyeball it for now, and I'm going to come back and format that in a moment, and I'm just going to click away from it. Okay, so within InDesign, you can hold down an anchor point and change shapes of boxes and move them around. Text and photographic or image elements will be in their different boxes, and thinking of alignment and use of white space is critical in a page layout, and you need to have a little practice moving things around, and that's what one of the steps within this assignment will help you with. All right, I'm going to click off that. It's deactivated. So before I go any further, what I really should do is format all this body text. And the directions say body copy is Palatino 10 point on 13 point lead. Well, if I go under Window, type in Tables, Character. So I can have this character window open, and this will help me set my typeface, what kind of attribute that typeface will have. Will it be bold, italic, etc.? Point size and leading. The leading is the distance between the body copy sentences. I'm going to grab my type tool. I'm going to click at the top of my column and I'm going to say Command A. Now that I have this type box activated, you'd notice that this area changed, and I can also select type faces at the top and scroll, and I'm just looking for my Palatino. I know I need Palatino regular, but notice here in my character box it's also showing. I know a lot of you work on your laptops. Space is a premium, so a lot of these little pull down menus might get in the way. I'm just showing you two different places where you can find things. Across the top, if you have Essentials set, it'll work fine. Or you can have the character box out. I'm going to leave it out. I have plenty of room. And I'll just continue to point out that you have these two different areas to work. Well, Palatino regular. Palatino's a nice typeface to use for body copy. It has serifs. Serifs are easier to read once you're using small text. The point size we need is 10. I can just use the chevrons to go up or down. I could cursor, highlight it and type in the number 12. Oh, 10. Oh, I went back to 12. There we go, 10. I'm going to do Command A and make sure I had it typed. Yes, I did. So my type is now only 10 point, not the original 12 point it was brought in at. And notice how the two columns, I've gained so much white space here because I've reduced the point size. Okay. Oh, I should keep Command A and keep it selected because the second thing I need to do is change my leading. And the directions clearly say 13. So the default setting was 12. I'm going to add a point. Now everything within that two columns of text is Palatino regular weight 10 point on 13 point lead. You see it here in our character box. You see it up here as well. I am going to just deselect it. I just selected my selection tool. Okay. Well, one thing we know that this byline really needs to be in italic. So if I just grab the type tool, I'm going to zoom in a little bit and scroll sideways here. And there we go. I'm going to highlight the author's name. And here, I'm just going to check italic. And again, it's up there in the upper left corner. And I'll deselect it by just clicking on my selection tool or just clicking away from everything. Good. All right. The other text feature that needs to be set are tabs. Tabs are the best way to keep consistency and alignment. And for a variety of kinds of documents, you should get in the habit of using tabs and not just hitting the space bar to move type. That's totally wrong. So I'm going to go under the word type and look for tabs. And this ruler will come up. Now right now, from the last thing I worked on, it's already set at a measurement I don't need. What I can do is we're going to use left justified. You can set up multiple tabs within a document. We'll do that in a later assignment. For this assignment, I just want you to take the left justified marker and just move it to the 1/4 inch or click in the 1/4 inch spot and see how the X coordinate here is telling me it's 0.25. One way you use tabs, say you're doing a table of contents and you'll have a word that's maybe the title of the chapter, you can set leader dots or leader symbols that then will evenly move across the page so the pagination for the chapter would be on the right, and we will do a project like that later. So it's good as an introduction to InDesign to get really used to this tab bar. Okay, great. So I've set my tabs. I'm going to take my type And I'm going to click my cursor. The reason I'm not going to put a tab on the word now is I'm going to put a drop cap there, and that's the beginning of the article, and I do not need a tab when I'm using the drop cap. So I'm going to go down to the next paragraph, and I'm going to hit my tab, and another tab, and another. So I'm just going to go through the project because the tabs had not been included in the original Microsoft file. Okay. So as you can see, I have to scroll through the document, read, and then the symbol for a tab, the invisible, it's these little chevron or arrow shapes. I'm going to do Command A. You can see the tab setting didn't save because I didn't save it. I'm going to make sure I have the left justified. I'm going to click in this little gray bar above the measurement. You can see the inch measurements here. Click. Now I'm not quite at a 1/4 inch, so I can scoot the arrow a little to my left. So I have this measurement that is accurate, clearly 1/4 inch, and this measurement in this bar. And notice how all these moved for me. Okay, if I just click away. So I Command A, select all the text, then add the tab formatting. You don't see it right now because I deselected all the text. If I grab my T, just click in my text box and do Command A, I could set another tab in another area, but my first tab is permanently set. Okay? After you get the tab set, and just take a glance and make sure you didn't miss any paragraphs, just scroll around, double check your work. You can put the tab away, and you can do Command S, and you should save it to a folder that has your MS Word file and your Photoshop Duotone. Keep all your assets for a project together. This is my demo folder, and you could scroll to your desktop. Just organize yourself on your laptop to organize folders and keep parts of projects together. And I'm going to just hit save. All right. Hit save often. Every couple minutes, save. All right. I'm going to zoom out. Okay. So far what I've accomplished is setting my tabs, setting the body copy, point size, and leading. What I could easily do is just select the word now or a little part of that paragraph, just the very beginning. I'm going to just zoom in. And I need a 2-line drop cap. So drop caps are easily found under Type, the window Paragraphs. Remember we just pulled out that character window? Well, paragraph is attributes of an entire paragraph. And this symbol where you see an A, drop cap, number of lines, I can use a chevron and show that it's 2. Also, it often is up here. I just don't have my window enlarged, like expanded, so I don't see it right away. And for this recording, I have things fit within a certain frame on my desktop. So let's see if I just scooch it over a smidge, and unfortunately it didn't come up there. You might see this exact same symbol up here in your toolbar. All right. And either way is right. As long as you find the drop cap setting, you're fine. And I'm just going to put that away to save space and deselect. So now I made a 2-line drop cap and I've set my tabs. Great. Next thing I want to do, and I'm just going to put my cursor in there and do Command A. Another attribute that my body copy has to have besides my tabs and drop cap on that first paragraph, and of course point size and leading, is no hyphens. I don't want any hyphens. Hyphens look sloppy, and I'm trying to make you learn to see type and think of type as a shape. Think of type as a color on your page. One spot you can find the hyphenation settings is way over here on the right. In this little hamburger menu, there are a lot of options for adjusting type. Hyphenation, when this window comes open, you should have hyphenation unchecked. So perhaps right now in your default settings, this box might be on. If it is, it's having hyphenation attributes preset, how many words or how many letters a word needs to have before you hyphenate it, how many characters before and after the hyphen, but we're going to uncheck hyphenate and say okay. If you're not really seeing it clearly on the way far right side under that little pull down, again, window, type, paragraph, and in this flyout menu there, hyphenation, no hyphens. So there are multiple places to find what you need. What works for you is appropriate. And there it is also again. So even in the paragraph window, I can either check hyphen. Notice how all my body copy just shifted, and these two lines right here where I'm circling now have hyphens. I don't want that. I'm going to say Command A, and I'm going to uncheck hyphens. So what the program is doing is calculating the letter spacing and column width and adjusting the type to fit for you. But no hyphens. This just looks neat, clean, easy to read. This is just Nebraska, Lincoln. That hyphen belongs in the name. It's really an EN dash. So we'll talk about what that means in a different assignment. Okay. Here we go. All right. I'm going to hit Command Save. Now that I saved my file to that folder, the window doesn't need to come up. It's saving it to my folder every time now. All right. Well, let's keep formatting type right now and work with our headline. I'm going to take my selection tool and click on the box I made, and I'm going to extend this box to the edges of each column across the top. When you look at the example, you can see that this type is much bigger. A headline should stand out from the body copy and contrast it. You can contrast it in scale, so the size can be larger, and it could contrast it in typeface style. So the directions are telling us to use Helvetica. Helvetica is a sans serif. So we're combining a serif body copy with a sans serif headline and sans serif subheads. Now when I highlight that piece of type in my headline box, I can go to paragraph for alignment, and in this case we're going to center the headline across the two columns. Okay, I know that for my headline I need 38-point Helvetica. Well, I can come up here. I don't necessarily have to pull out the window under type character, but now I did and it's sitting there. But I'm going to go up here and I'm going to scroll and I'm going to look for my Helvetica. I know I need Helvetica bold, and it needs to be 38 point. Well, I have 36 there, but if I just highlight it and type in my own 38, I'm fine. And again, I could use the carets or chevrons to scroll up or down. Leading isn't really a concern because it's in its own text box. I also need to do one other thing. Tracking is the letter spacing across a group of words or a line of text. When you're typesetting headlines, especially using large point sizes, 36 point is very large, it helps readability to track things in. So tracking is the overall space between a line of type, and it just brings the letters a little closer together. And it helps words look more unified and a little more professional. So tracking is underneath the leading in the character window. Up here, leading is this symbol here. There are two kinds of spacing between letters. One is kerning. Kerning is where you put your cursor in between two letters, like where I have it between the W and the H, and you're closing space between two individual letters. Tracking is across that whole line of type. So I didn't set the tracking yet. I want to set it to -10. So I can use the chevrons to go down and see how the type is squinching in, or I can go out and add 10. But now my type is breaking out of the box width, and you can see that plus sign there. So -10. And I'm going to deselect it. All right. So if I want to double check that things are aligned, I can add a guideline that doesn't print if I want to. And I can zoom in a little bit. Whoops, scroll a little. There we go. And I want to make sure this looks centered and aligned. This is just a space. It's not a hard return. It's not anything you can delete. So these blue dots are my word spaces, and these look nice and neat and tight. And I'm going to hit Command Save. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and let's set the type size to the subheads. So these are my subheads. In the MS Word file, there's a hard return above the subhead and below. So I'm going to highlight the subhead. Subheads are to be Helvetica bold 14 point. So Helvetica bold 14 point. Great. I can just scroll through, and it's a tiny bit repetitive, sorry, but it gets you used to working in different menus. I could practice doing it up here in the upper part of my toolbar. I don't have to have that window out. And it was 14 point. I can use the caret or chevron. There we go. And here we go. I think I got them all. I will double check and whoops, I didn't make it Helvetica. Bold. And now I'll continue to make it larger, 14 point. Okay, old school transcribers. I'm going to just zoom out, scoot over. Serious strategies. Oh, I did miss one. Look at that. Laptop versus paper is too small. I only kept it at 10. There, now it's almost 14. There we go. Now it's 14. Good. And I'm going to hit save. Now, I'm just going to zoom in and explain what secondary leading is. Your primary leading is between these sentences, like throughout the whole body copy, we made it 13 point. These returns are a little extra space between paragraphs, but they're still relying on 13 point leading. Secondary leading is additional leading you can set between groups of type or paragraphs. What I want to do is highlight the hard return before each subhead. And what I'm going to do in this file, and you can follow this same setting, it is not in your directions. However, the secondary leading, I think that would work nicely to add some space. See how it's 13? I'm going to make it 16. No, I'm going to make it 18. There we go. 18. You can play with this secondary leading after you place the photo, or keep it the way it is, or change it now, which is probably the easier way, because once you have all this formatted, you can then make adjustments to your text wrap and the size of your photo to get everything to flow and fill the column depths neatly. All right, so I added 5 points of leading in front of every subhead to give each subhead a little room. I'm taking my type tool. I think I missed that one. So now it's 18. This return is 18. You can also see it there. And this return is 18. And the last one is 18. Great. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to zoom out. All right. The last thing I'm going to format in this demo, and then the second demo, part 2, is going to be placing the photo and working with text wraps. This is going to be the pull quote, and I'm going to do Command A, and what I know the pull quote should be is Helvetica Bold 18 point. I'm going to use my character window here. I'm going to scroll up to Helvetica. Helvetica Bold, and it's 18 point. I'm going to have to make the box bigger so everything fits. And 24 point leading. I'm going to make sure I have my type selected. It's here on the far left. And I'm going to go to this window and make it 24 point. So in my character pull-out menu, 18 point, 24 point lead, Helvetica Bold. And again, you see it up here. So wherever you're working to make your settings. Now I'm going to zoom in. I can play with the shape of this type after I place my picture. What I need you to understand is this. You have to watch and make sure all your text fits within the box. If you start playing with this box and pulling it in and you see that red plus sign, make sure you make the box big enough. You can take your cursor and you can place it in front of words and do a shift return. Now I'm going to zoom in. This shape kind of looks like a sideways L, is a shift return. It's a soft return. When you hit a hard return, it adds extra space before sentences. A shift return keeps your original leading, like this is 18 on 24. Do you see how the left rag is a little more even now? You don't want a word alone by itself. So when useful was alone, it makes kind of a tension-filled, awkward shape. I might change this after I place in my photo. And for now, I'm just making my box a little tighter to the text because I'm going to do a text wrap in the next video around that. So this video, what we've accomplished is File, Place, placing the Microsoft Word text, setting extra guidelines for alignment, formatting body copy to follow our directions, creating a drop cap, eliminating hyphens, creating tabs in front of each paragraph, setting the correct point size for our subheads, and adding a little extra leading in front of each subhead. I'm going to zoom out. And for now, that's the end of the tutorial, but there is a part 2 tutorial that will address designing the layout and using text wrap features. Thanks, guys.